Good morning, class. This is going to serve as your chapter 30.1 lecture, and we're going to go into product development and product planning and how companies kind of think about their entire product line. So, kind of two steps here, and it's not too much, but we're going to describe the steps in the product planning process and then how to develop, maintain, and improve your company's product mix. So, the heart of the matter is product planning gives the business an opportunity to market various programs that'll increase sales and plan out how they're going to promote the products when, where, and how they want to. And a nice example I think that fits into this concept is cell phones or video games. And we have a consistent timing of when the next cell phone is going to be out. And then we kind of know that as we hit November and December and those Christmas holidays, that we're usually going to see a number of releases from some top tier video game producers to hit on the holiday season. So here's your vocabulary, not too much, and we'll go through it all as we go along. But here is the first step, and this is these 7 key steps in producing a product. And it all starts at the beginning where we generate some ideas. Step 2 is we screen those ideas, develop a business proposal. So, hey, what does this look like? How do we do it? How are some of the details that are going to happen? Then we're actually going to go ahead and start developing the product, and that's probably going to be some form of prototype that's going to have to be tested. Then we'll test that product with consumers, kind of going off of step 4, and then there'll be some introduction of that product. And then we'll go ahead and at some point we're going to say, hey, we need to say this is what's doing good. This is some of the feedback we've gotten because hopefully we're always trying to do that market research that we've discussed in the past, like more recently. And we're going to have an evaluation of what we've done and we're going to take a step back and maybe make some changes in either our process of making the product or some of the feature benefits, or potentially even maybe it's just how we promote it and the pricing strategy that we have. So product planning, that is making decisions about the features and services of a product or idea that will help sell that product. And it kind of breaks down into 2 different categories, and it allows a business to coordinate existing products and features, and it allows businesses to add new products and delete products. I think a good example of that right now is... So a good example would be the Xbox, the new Xbox console that's coming out. And you can see here, there was some coordination and planning for pricing where there's 2 different versions. And there are some different features going on. Obviously, there's a different price point. The larger one's more expensive by a couple $100. And it is one that still accepts a disc, while we have the digital only, less components, a little bit simpler. And then some of the computer power is a little bit slower versus the big boy over here. And what I found interesting was not only did Xbox make this decision, but so did Sony. And they're naturally, everyone's competing and they don't want to release ahead of one another, so there's a lot of reconnaissance that's going on. There might even be some communication that, hey, we're not going to fight each other. We're just going to release at or around the same time. And they're saying, hey, here is our 2 versions of what we're doing and the 2 versions of what Sony's doing. And they're going to bring both of them to market at around the same time. And this is also going to be their opportunity to delete or get rid of some of the older units, and we might be seeing, well, we're probably going to see this eventuality where the disc or whatever that game is on is potentially going to go away as we get things like 5G and fiber optic networks that go directly to our house. They're going to take that middle party out, that GameStop, out of the picture, and that retail aspect is going to be hurt. So that's kind of just an example that we're about to see unfold, and who chooses what and what is more popular, I have no idea at this point. Time will tell. So what is the product mix? Product mix is all the different products that a company makes or sells. And we're going to do assignment on this tomorrow and the next day, and you'll kind of see exactly what I'm talking about. But for example, all the different products that Apple sells, all the different products that Microsoft and Sony and Amazon sell, that is their complete product mix. So a product line is a group of closely related products manufactured or sold by a business. And then a product item is that specific model, brand, or size of a product within a product line. So here's a couple examples for you. The product line could be Apple's iPhones here, and then the specific product item would be the iPhone 12 128 gigabyte in blue, and that would have its own set of identifiers that would be specific to Apple for their internal systems, and they would use that to coordinate with all the cell phone companies, Verizon, AT&T, so on and so forth. But that would be the specific product item. Product width and product depth. So product width is the number of product lines offered by the company, and then the depth is the number of items offered within each product line. So kind of out of order, get everything on here, but as you can see, product width, the number of product lines. So Apple will have phones, computers, and iMacs, and they'll have Apple TV. And then if we kind of look at this, I threw up here the black version of the iPhone 12, and they'll probably have the black and the blue in different versions of size, and that's going to add to their depth. So how many items per se are part of each line? And we'll dig a little bit deeper into this in a bit. So there are a bunch of components of a product, and we're going really high level here, but in that there's 4 in particular. The seller's reputation. And we can still use Apple, for example. Apple has an incredible reputation for not necessarily being the first to the market to do something, but a lot of times they have this amazing way of putting it all together and being the best, whether it's design or user interfaces or the fact that everybody uses it. All of that builds on their reputation. The physical features of the phone, and I'll keep sticking with Apple, but Apple's theme is their phones are always beautiful looking. They always have a great design, and whether or not it's going to be the most friendly thing to you or the easiest thing to handle, like we no longer have a headphone jack in our cell phone, but it makes the phone look nicer, they're probably going to take the route of making the nicer product. The way the product is viewed by people, and so that goes into also the reputation of the product, the seller's reputation, but then how do we all feel about the product? What is the word going around about that product? And then the seller services, what do they offer besides the physical features of the product? Are there stores where we can get it? Can we get help? Can we get it fixed? All of those items play into the various components of a product. And I lost my spot. Give me a second. Here we go. Okay. Different components of new product research that were discussed in Chapter 28. And we touched on a lot of these. We didn't go into too much detail on all of them, but we've kind of talked about concept testing and a prototype and going from a prototype to a final product and how we have to do advertising and test the market and do various levels of pricing to understand our position. And I always use the example of a car and the various car auto industry for positioning. Are we the BMW Mercedes of the industry, or are we the value product where maybe we have a Chevrolet, a Kia, a Hyundai? All of those products can be considered they're positioned more for hey, you get more bang for your buck, but you may not get the same quality. Our brand and what kind of association do you get from our brand? And we're doing this now because we're going to take this into our final project, which is our cereal boxes, and that'll end our semester. So we're going to be talking about product and product development for the next two chapters, and we end with that. Product placement, is it quality, and what is our performance? And then how can we actually get feedback on our products? Do we need to do surveys, observations, various levels of research in order to get data? So in our steps, we talked about the business proposal. I'm not going to back through all this to get there, but there is some dedicated information on our business proposal. We want to know how big the market is, what are our potential sales, what is it going to be the cost, our profit potential, right? Because if no one's going to buy this until, or if no one's going to buy it because it's not popular, but we have to make X amount in order to make profit, well, we're kind of in a sticky situation where we have to decide whether or not this is something we want to do. What's the competitive environment like? Is there a level of risk? And when you start thinking about this, how many people are in that product? Like, how many people are making that product? How many companies make phone cases right now? It is an endless amount, and it may not be a market you want to enter because of all that competition. And then what type of time is needed to create and introduce the product? A lot of reasons why we don't have certain things is because the technology hasn't been created yet. And if the technology hasn't been created, well, then it's not necessarily the most profitable thing to go out and create technology from scratch. Are we going to be able to produce it efficiently, or are we going to need a bunch of people around to work on it by hand? And all of these factors kind of play into whether or not this is a good decision to develop this product. So new product development, and this is exactly what we did on the first step. And we generate ideas, screen ideas, develop a business proposal. Step 3, that's where this was. So you may already have this down. If so, don't worry about it. Just another way to look at this kind of process, this 7-step process, where we test the product with consumers once we've developed it, introduce the product, and evaluate whether or not it's being accepted or we need to go change something. So, prototype, and we're coming to the end, is a model of a new product made before the product is manufactured. And we've talked about this before, but I do have some interesting examples, and I'll go back to the auto industry because we always see prototypes of various new vehicles. So, for your viewing pleasure, new Volkswagen truck, the new electric Hummer, Volkswagen sand dune buggy concept, the Tesla Cybertruck. That is a gorgeous looking Buick that I bet they won't make because it's too pretty for Buick. That is a Maybach concept that I could see that potentially being made. But all just beautiful looking cars, very futuristic. They're one-offs, and I believe that's a Renault, a European company. But they're not likely to be made. They're a way to test the market and just kind of see if that's a possibility. Even the Cybertruck, the Tesla Cybertruck, which Tesla says they're going to make, will probably be somewhat different as they take, hey, this is what we've designed, but how do we get this design into the production process where we want to make it efficiently and cost effective? Because the point of every company is to make what? And hopefully your brain is saying money, whether or not you're saying it out loud. All right. Product modification, an alteration in a company's existing product. And I thought I was going to have line extension pop up here, but I will tell you a line extension is an extension of a current product line. And whereas that might be the addition of a cell phone at a different color or a different size holding capacity, but essentially the same product. But now we're taking the line and we're extending it so it's bigger. And once you got those down, we'll keep going. We're almost done. And here you go. Here is a comparison between line extensions and product modifications. So, but both are built on an already established image. They meet customer needs. They appeal to new markets and increase sales and profits. And think about lines, extensions, and modifications as trying to get into potentially different markets. That happens a lot, where you see slight changes to movies so they meet China's strict regulations for movies, because that is the second largest economy in the world. And we are more and more wanting to be in there in order to make money from a global standpoint. So I'll leave this up for 10 more seconds. I'll take a break of talking and let you finish it. All right, let's keep going. So, why might a product be discontinued? Obsolescence. Same thing. Phones, right? The iPhone 5, no longer worth having, right? It's obsolete. We've replaced it with new products. Sometimes there's a trend change and there becomes a loss of appeal and there's no longer profits and we have to eliminate the phone. This happened with BlackBerry. BlackBerry lost their appeal because of the way technology changed and trends changed, and they did not make profit and had to restructure their company and what they do. Man, I love my BlackBerry though. Changes in company objectives may conflict with other products in a line. I think I don't have a good example of this off the top of my head, but I might by the time we actually listen to this lecture. So this might be a good time to actually talk about it. A change in a company's objective. Mr. Barron, stop. Ms. Reddick, stop the video. Have a quick conversation. When has a company really changed what they're trying to do in order to move forward in progress with history and change for the better? And then we'll come back and keep going. All right, I hope you had a good, relevant conversation, and that was it. That's the last section. Ooh, hey, that's where we get to stop. So this is going to be our next project. If there's time to explain it today, it would be a good thing. If not, you guys talk about it on Wednesday. All right, that's it for me, and I'll talk to you guys next Monday.